Good day, everyone. Doing a different kind of video with my friend Peter. He's decided that he wants to be a participant, and he brought some
We're a victim.
some old Dogfish Head big bottles, where they used to sell these things for a lot of money, and a lot of them are very disappointing. And these are, I'm guessing, at least 2 years
A lot of
old.
money, like $10.
It was 15
Yeah,
bucks. I guess
yes.
at stores where they gouge out, they're 15. But so Sah'Tea, I don't know if they make this one much anymore. 9% rye ale, sort of supposed to be like the Finnish Sah'Teas, but this one has chai tea and juniper berries. And rye is the big thing. But then they also throw in, they heat the wort with wood-fired rocks, like a Steinbier from Germany.
I didn't even read the side of it.
And this one they now have in 6-packs even, I think. There's 75-minute IPA, which is basically just a bigger version of 60-minute, bottle conditioned with maple syrup. I actually haven't had...
So this one is 2011.
Oh, is it saying on there?
Yeah.
That
wow.
one's
9%.
That is pretty old.
This is 7.5%.
I haven't had either of these beers before.
I can't imagine this one holding up that well, but...
2018?
No. Oh, I don't know.
Looks like it says 2018.
Maybe it's 1918? I don't know.
Well, I'm going to do this one first.
Alright. Yes.
I think it's a 2018.
We'll probably get through both of them because at least one of them's probably going to be a dumper.
Oh boy.
Cool. So yeah, I'll give you the backstory on these. I feel like it's appropriate to mention where they came from.
Sure.
So my brother turned 40 about a year and a half ago, and our high school friend who was part of the surprise in the surprise birthday gathering, he brought a whole bunch of these Dogfish Head bottles that he had in the basement that he was aging, and he gave them all to my brother. A very nice gift. But my brother recently left for Afghanistan for a year, so he was afraid that these bottles should be open soon and that they would be bad by the time he got back. Who knows? I mean, 2018, maybe not. But he thought it would be better for me to take them and open them instead of having to wait another year. So thank you, Brian, for sharing these, passing them on to my brother, and my brother for passing them on to us.
Of course, yes. It's cool. So it almost smells like a really hoppy barley one in a way, actually. It definitely has oxidized hops.
Yeah, my first thought is oxidized, but
like an aged hoppy barley wine.
it's something that you would.
The head's definitely nice. It's definitely well bottle conditioned, but it smells like, 10 years ago when you'd buy a random IPA, the double IPA or something off the shelf and wouldn't know the age of it.
It smells slightly metallic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, really oxidized. Mouth feels nice. There's nothing wrong with it. If it didn't have that intense wet paper quality, I would like it. Makes me want to actually buy the fresh bottles of this that are around.
Can you easily get these?
Yeah.
75?
Yeah, I think they just released like a winter, 4-pack.
Do they all have that same label, or is that
I think they changed the label. This is how it always was with the old ones. I don't think it's this anymore because that's a confusing, ridiculous label.
Yeah.
Don't really understand what's going on.
Groucho thing. It goes from like quickly like the oxidization is like right up front with like a punch of sweetness, but it fades very quick.
Mm-hmm. But it's mainly wood and pine and paper, and the sweetness isn't too much. I feel like if this beer was not dry hopped, it might be in really good shape right now. And re-oxidized a little bit probably, but it's supposed to be like really heavily dry hopped, and that's probably its downfall. Are you getting any citrusy notes or anything? With the mouthfeel,
Really?
head and retention. It's all really good. Like, Dogfish makes pretty quality beers. I even did a review of 60 Minute a couple months ago because I had it for the first time in a long time. I was like, this is actually really darn good. And I feel like the crystal malt has backed off. It's not as sweet and crystal malty biscuity after the age.
No, I feel like it's basic. I feel like it tastes a lot like Crystal 30 to 40.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the biscuity, like anything that is like Crystal 20, if they even include it in the grain bill, it's just that type of flavor isn't present anymore. But it's like just above the biscuit. It's more of like going into the sweet caramel. And I prefer to have a little bit of the breadiness, basically.
You like to be below the biscuit, not above the biscuit?
I like to be on the biscuit.
Aha.
But,
Peter is also an award-winning home brewer.
Yeah, but what home brewer isn't award-winning?
Same with, what any brewer can go to any competition and
everybody's won some medals.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a home brewer and you haven't submitted anything to a homebrew competition, you should do it. Not to get medals, although it's fun, but you get really good feedback. I've intentionally I just submitted a few beers to a competition it was a big beer competition. Basically everything above, I don't know if it was like 8%. All the categories were like higher ABV. 2 of the 3 beers I submitted, I knew were garbage. It cost money to enter, it cost money to send the bottles, but I wanted to know what was wrong with it. It just, like, they were beers that I aged for a year and they were good at first, but then they just turned to garbage. And it always helps when somebody else gives you descriptors. It's like, I know this isn't good, but can you tell me like what you're perceiving? And then maybe I can sort of back out of the recipe what may have caused that.
Especially from a less subjective point of view. Because even if you gave it to me, I would be less, hopefully, less subjective than someone. Less objective than someone who's doing it who doesn't know Peter or doesn't have any emotional connection to him. What do you think about this one? Is it worth it?
I keep sipping it.
Is it worth the calories? It's pretty easy to drink. Probably the most oxidized, easiest to drink beer I've had.
It's just throwing me off in general because at this point, maybe the original was like this, but it's hard to categorize this. It definitely does not just taste like an IPA. It tastes like an East Coast IPA, West Coast IPA, a barley wine. There's this little tanginess that I would associate with like a Hefeweizen. Maybe not too many more categories, but still, it's somewhere in the middle of all those.
Yeah, if you couldn't smell, you'd probably like this a lot more. I feel like I had a very bad sense of smell. Because the
if you
flavor,
couldn't smell or taste anything.
when it's in my mouth, it almost tastes citrusy and fresh.
There's a brightness to it, but there's no... It isn't, to me, like a citrusy... It's definitely, if it's going to be either citrusy or, say, tropical, it's definitely on the citrusy side, because sometimes you can have that sort of acidity without much flavor you would associate with, like, citrus.
Maybe it kind of tastes like when I have an old orange that I get the juice from a little bit. It actually does have a metallic thing, too. Like, I've cut open an orange and had some of it, and I come back to it, and it was soft, and, it has a little bit of that.
Oh, man, the old orange taste. I know exactly what you mean.
The old orange taste. All right, well, are we going to do the other one?
Yeah, sure.
So, I have no idea what to expect with this one. Open it real carefully. This is, from 2011, so this is coming up on its 9th birthday. And we'll see, has it gone sour? Is it painfully oxidized? It is 9%. And I think most of their big bottles, they bottle condition. They advertise 75 minute as bottle conditioned, maybe to make it clear how it's different from 60 and 90. But this one was
What's the 61? Is that with grapes?
Yeah. I never even tried that one. Maybe I did, and I was like, why?
I remember
with red wine grapes is a weird thing.
I will, at some point this evening, have more of this. It's not bad. It's just
I want some water to rinse out.
I could even imagine drinking this during the summertime.
Mm-hmm. And maybe let's try to mix it with some fresh beer and see what happens.
Yeah.
Or maybe I
That's
don't know.
right. You're a blender. You like to blend.
Okay. Well, this one I guess I don't have high hopes for. Not as dark as I thought. Not as nice of a head. So maybe it's not bottle conditioned, or it's just too old.
And it looks like it will dissolve fairly quickly.
Ooh. It smells kind of like mulled wine or cider. A little bit like glug, the warm, sweetened, spiced mulled wine that my Swedish mother makes. It kind of smells like it's going to be a little sour. So it has this kind of plummy, figgy type thing going on. But no fruit. No, it's just a chai tea.
Yeah.
Very strong
All the
smell.
descriptors you just mentioned there. I was not expecting that. It does have like a mulled spice, and I think that's just a coincidence that, or the way that the different things they added react together give it that sort of aroma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you don't immediately think chai tea. It does smell like wine or some kind of fruit, but no fruits in this. And it doesn't smell nearly as oxidized, but I'm sure they use a teeny amount of hops in this. Like, the whole idea of Sah'Tea is it's kind of an unhopped thing, I think.
This is nice.
Cinnamon,
I gotta say that I think this color comes to mind when I smell it, but I wonder if it's just like a power of suggestion. Like, I think I'm smelling berries because looking at the label, but I don't know if I didn't see that label, if I would have thought that.
Yeah, it tastes a lot like glug. Have you had like worms or like mulled wine before?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Reminds me a lot of that.
Glug.
Glug is just the Swedish version, basically. It's like German, there's Glühwein. It's surprisingly not very oxidized.
It doesn't seem oxidized at all. I guess it is 2018.
And it's really fruity. No, this is 2011. This is clearly 2011 on there.
This is the 2011?
Yeah, it clearly says 2011.
Oh my god.
I'm pretty surprised. I would say that.
Alright. I'm probably gonna have a good amount of this.
This
is not bad.
Almost worth picking up because of how unique it is and how well it's aged. It's probably more interesting than it was fresh. It's probably less sweet. It hasn't really gotten sour, but the pH is maybe a little bit lower.
I wonder about the so the use of
It tastes like purple drink.
so black chai tea that has black tea in it, right?
Yeah,
it's a
saying
combination of
yeah. So there's black tea, then there's cinnamon and ginger and nutmeg maybe, and just a lot of curry spices are in there.
I would have thought that there would be some astringency associated with that, and maybe there's a difference, like whether you like brew it or you sort of cold steep it. Like, I don't know if you get that same astringency. I don't normally think of chai tea as being astringent, but because there is black tea in it, I'm expecting to have some of that.
But it's
especially
been so long.
because, but also, you know, there's like some astringency associated with the hops. Then you have the black tea. It seems like with the combination of those things, like there would be some, and there's not. It's very smooth in that sense. There's no like harsh bite to it.
Well, the tannins degrade. So like I've had, you know, I guess this is like 20-year-old wine. I had a 20-year-old like oak age red wine. I was like, holy, this is so easy to drink. It's not. There are no tannins. That's the basic thing. So the tannins are basically gone from this, and I bet it's not very hopped. The mouthfeel is very nice. That's what I've realized about these ones. It's not thinned out and weird like a lot of aged beers.
On the finish, I keep thinking blueberries. I know it's juniper berries in the label. I keep thinking blueberries, like this light blueberry. Oh god, that's not a berry you want. Light blueberry with like a sweeter, a diluted sweeter lemonade finish.
Yeah, I mean, junipers are really complex. like that's one of the biggest flavors in gin, and gin tastes like so many things, you know. It tastes like berries and lemon, and they definitely use like a big amber sort of malt bill, and there's lots of rye in it, so there's a lot of interesting ingredients that are creating things like rye. Can be a lot of different flavors, but this one I'm just surprised by how fruity it is. I would have never thought it like this. I've looked at this beer hundreds, if not thousands, of times while working at stores and looking at shelves and never bought it.
Out of these Dogfish Head bottles, I can't remember the other ones we had. I know we had the Pearl Jam one, the anniversary, which was probably, I don't know, was it 2013 or something?
Oof.
Maybe not that old, but that was one of the beers. I don't think that one held up.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a couple others, but this is the best one, I think, out of...
The cinnamon is still coming through. I think the cinnamon with the other stuff is what's giving that berry flavor, maybe a little bit.
I keep thinking this is a 2018 one. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is I would actually rate this and give it like a 4.25. That's why it's fun to return to these weird old beers that are not sexy, not interesting, and not in the moment, because they can surprise you, for sure. And the main thing is if it's brewed properly, to have a good body, bottle conditioned properly, packaged with low dissolved oxygen. That's the big thing, as this home brewer knows. And Dogfish had the ability to do it, and they pulled it off.
This is a really good beer.
That's all we have to say, probably.
Thanks for joining us.
Maybe
Thanks for letting me join.
Maybe give Sah'Tea a try.